Good morning, YouTube. So, back over here at the farm, it's a cold morning. The wind ain't blowing, thankfully. I hadn't got any video the past couple days due to just wind was up real bad. It was cold, and I was waiting on her to get the other videos. So, I'm gonna blame it on her a little bit. But no, I just been working. Today is a whopping, I think it was 25 degrees when I left the house. So it's cold for even most parts of the country right now. I know in some places it's getting a lot colder, but I've been working on something. So I don't know if anybody's watched past videos, but I got my log turner up and going. I still got a little work to do to it, but it's welded, it's solid, it's in place, bolted down. Let me get the camera here and I'll show you guys. I still got to get a roller for this cable to land on, but basically right there is what you're looking at. So that's 4.5 inch pipe, schedule 40. I took and put an angle on. It's at a, let me get over my roller beds here. It's at a 70-degree angle from the bottom, so it kicks it kind of back away from the log. That'll help with any kind of pulling stress. I got it sitting notched and sitting down on the carriage, 1/4 inch angle bolted to the carriage. These bolts and stuff and the welds around there will not take as much stress as those welds. Those welds will take some stress. For the most part, these won't, because for really and truthfully, the carriage will give problems in the wood. It'll start pulling the bolts out before those welds will give up. I mean, other damage will be there. So I got a 2,000-pound Harbor Freight winch. I'm probably going to end up shortening the cable because, for those of you who don't know, winches, the more cable that's on them, the less actual pulling power. This 2,000-pound rating is only for like the first 10 feet at its like full stretch. So say this cable is stretched completely out and there's no cable left on here, for the first 8 to 10 feet of that cable rolling up on this roller is the 2,000 pound. After that, for every so many feet, it gets less and less on the poundage. So I'm thinking about cutting that in half, which will drop this to about 1,200 pound according to their own record and documentation. That still should be plenty enough to do what this is going to do. Basically, I'm gonna have a hook. I got a J hook over there that's going to get attached right here, and most of the time it's going to go up and around. I need a roller. I got a big roller Fairlead. I'd like to have me a small one, but I may try to make something work. But it'll come up, wrap around the log, in behind, hook on the back side, and as you engage the winch, it'll roll it, and it'll actually roll it up and against that. It works similar to my chain hoist that I had in my other saw house for my band mill, but this one will work two different directions. So what I want is eventually, because most of these old sawmills, I don't know if you can see good, when you're sawing, you saw this edge off first, right? So you saw this edge, and in order to get that edge down there on the flat, most of you old timers rolled this thing over and over and over. So you had to roll it completely like a 360 over, almost. Me, I want to be able to put me some stake pockets down there on my frame. I'm going to have an angle tilted, and I'll be able to hook that hook on the back side, like straight down on the back side of the log, and as I pick it up on the back side, it'll roll it to the front, and those stakes will hold it from rolling completely off onto the floor. And once it gets to a point, it'll slowly pick it up and slide it back. I've seen it done with hydraulic, not the cable stuff. I've seen it done with the hydraulic, my idea, and it seemed to work pretty good. I'm just using cable with electric. I got to get some plugs for this to wire it up permanent and get it fixed to where I can actually, what it's going to be is I'm going to have the remote and I'll plug it in and then I'll unplug it whenever I'm done rolling. So it'll be a second to plug it in and a second to hook the cable up, but it'll sure save the hernia operations. Because if anybody's ever fooled with these, they can't hook by yourself, even with two people, is rough. Plus, I think it'll save the wear and tear on the machine itself, the carriage. So, yeah, that's that. Plus, I finally got my chain drag back up and running. Had to get another belt. The belt I ordered was still about an inch too short, so I had to actually drop the whole unit down an inch, which is not exactly where I wanted it, but it still don't look bad. I got an angle brace here that comes back to keep from the tension pulling it back this way, because when you first try to put the belt on, it's still that much length wanted to pull it. I got a board going across all the way out to the end. That is about level, so that'll be good. It'll keep the water shedded out that way. It's just got a little bit of a tilt out that way. But what I also want to do is I'm going to have I got to put in a board here today. And the board is going to set flat like this, right up and under it, all the way across. And the reason is there's a spot in that chain that as it's going out, it's wanting to kind of jerk. And because that board is so long, it jerks it that way. So to keep from any tension going that way, I'm going to put a board there to help support it. And that should give me enough strength to keep from it pulling and jerking that way so much. Got that. For those of you who didn't know, I do got my solar box. I've used it a couple times. Works good so far. I like it. I got to get my pulleys and stuff for my hydraulic feed on the forward and backwards. And today I'm going to be tinkering with that roller a little bit, cleaning up around here, and I got 2 more 20-foot sticks of that Schedule 40 pipe, 4.5-inch pipe, that I'm going to be making a log bed out of. So I got to get some holes dug if the ground ain't too hard, and try to get some of that for the poles to stand on so that those pipes can lay on for a log deck. Still waiting on my blade from the blade doctors close to us. They said about a week. It's been right at a week. I'm going to probably call them sometime today, later today. I'll let you know whenever we get that back on and trying it out. We'll see how it goes. So yeah, I got to get to cleaning up this little bit of mess. But mostly I'm going to be just tinkering today. So I probably won't record that. If I get to a point where I feel like, I should probably, record this, I'll record it. But it's going to be a lot of standing back looking at it, going, does that look right? Also, still waiting on the whale guys to get here. Haven't heard anything from them also. They said it would be sometime this month, so I'm going to give them a little bit of time. They was hoping to get to it this month. So we're crossing our fingers on that, hoping for a whale. We have access to the county's water here, but it's over 1,000 feet from the road is where our house is going, and we really don't like county water. So we got a little money saved up, and we're going to splurge and hope for a whale. But yeah, that's what I got going. If I don't get back to you today, I just wanted to give you like a quick 10-15 minute update of the way I designed that. If anybody wants to do it similar to that, you could put the battery source on the carriage. You could do it ever how you wanted to do it. I mean, there's a bunch of different ways. That's the way I chose to do it. I've used similar designs to this, like say the pulling down and the rolling it that direction. So I know that part's going to work as long as my winch holds up. Like I say, it's an Arbor Freight winch, 2,000 pound. I've had really good luck out of my 12,000 pound Harbor Freight. I've had it for 5 or 6 years now, and I pulled some stuff that's pulled an actual truck down the hill. So I've had good luck out of it. So I figured I'd try this one. It's going to stay in the dry mud 99% of the time, so I think it'll be fine. And 2,000 pounds or 1,000 pounds of rolling force should be enough for anything that I'll be able to saw on this thing. Show you what I got done. Last video was, I told you I was working on a fair leads for my log turner. So here basically is a complete, other than hooking up the battery. This is basically how it's going to look, how it's going to work, and everything. Needs paint, I know, but I'm not worried about painting at all right now. So I'll walk you through it. Okay, so I got the crossover, comes across, mounts to both sides of my carriage, so it rolls with it, come up. Right here is the fair leads. I have had these fair leads for a while. It's for a big winch. So one upside to this, if I ever upgrade winch size, I already got fair leads to fit it. That being said, I took a piece of angle iron, welded in, made my bracket to where it would actually clear. Came down here, put some underneath braces. I don't know if you can see them. Basically gusseted it up to where it would. Lighting is terrible, but let me see here. Okay, so you can see I brought these pieces up, caught this, so that way this is sitting on solid and the fair leads is bolted to it. I come back here. This is the hook I'm going to be using. It's a hook off of an old pivy hook I had. That's what I've been using for a long time with a chain hoist to turn logs. So that's what I got. But to hold it, I had this little bracket for cables off of power poles to help hold them. It fits perfect. I mean, look at that. You can't ask for better than that. So that way it don't bounce up and out. It's actually pretty solid. It's got very little space to move side to side, so it shouldn't come out. And I should never have a log on here big enough to cause that any problems. This is setting above these by a little bit. So honestly, if you get any bigger log, you're not even going to be able to dog it down. So if I can't dog one down, I'm not even going to try it. My blade won't cut it by no means anyway. So everything is up out of the way. This is back far enough that should never have no trouble. I mean, you're talking it's setting like center of the carriage, as you can see right there. So yeah, that's how that sets up. Lighting is terrible under here. There we go. Okay, so yeah, that's how that's set up. I'm hoping 2,000 pound will cut it, but like I said, I got room back here to mount a larger winch if it comes down to it. I have a 12,000 pounder, probably won't ever put on this, but I could rig it up a way to actually do it. It's got a slide-in mount, so I could actually mount me a little square tube on the back side back here, completely remove that, and just slide it in and use these rollers to guide it. Same basic principle, just a lot bigger deal. I don't think I'll need that much, honestly. I had a 2,000 pound chain hoist that a lot of times would pick the log up. This should never have to be able to pick it up. I might have to, you know, help it a little on occasion on a real big one. Maybe it's got a stop on it or something that's catching. Might have to help it along with a cane hook, but at least this way I'll be back out of the way good, and it'll be a lot safer. Alright, so yeah, there it is. That's what I got going on. Everything was welded as far as this part and the braces. Everything but the angle cuts was welded with a Lincoln. It's just a 110, I think it says Pro Core Lincoln wire welder with flux core wire. A lot of people's anti-flux core. Out here in the wind and outside like this, you can't weld with gas. It's too windy. The gas will blow away. So it doesn't give as pretty a weld like the ones on in the angles, but it still welds really well as long as you know what you're doing with it. I've welded with that a lot. 1/4 inch stuff's about as big as you want to weld. It's thick, but I've welded some 1/4 inch and it's a house. Honestly, I've had to beat my brains out to try to get it broke loose afterward. So I'm not going to complain too much about it. A lot of everybody to their own when it comes to welders. I won't go into it. But anyway, I just want to let you know kind of what I was using. You can use whatever you want to use, whatever you feel comfortable with. Stick welder, there's a bunch of different options. Alright, so we're up here at the mill. I'm trying to get the camera to cooperate. It is so windy and cold here, guys. I know the sun's shining out there and stuff, but like it's in the 30s, I think, and the wind's blowing, so it feels cold. Alright, so I got a battery. It's just a lawnmower battery. Eventually, I'm going to have a deep cycle battery for this system, is what I want. But I wanted to bring this over to check the winch, mainly, is what a lot of it is, and make sure this is going to work. So I'm going to attempt to set you up over there on the side so that you can see, and hopefully the wind don't blow you down. I've had a lot of problems with wind out here in the past. Alright, so I think you can see there. Yeah. Alright. Oh. The winch does work. So now let's try and see if it'll roll. Hook it. Alright, so I'm going to hook it right there, lock it back in, see what happens. It works. Works really well, actually. The reason I wanted to try it on this square one is, if anybody knows, it's harder to turn square log than it is a round log. A round log, even with a cane hook, will turn so much easier than a square one will, because you got these square edges. So I know if it'll turn this, even as small as it is, squared edges, it should turn a larger log with rounded edges, no problem. And I'm sure there's going to be times. These winches are designed to not have as much power pull when they're rolled up like this. They're designed to have the most when they're fully at stretch, those first few feet of roll up. But this is going to work great. I mean, honestly, I got no problem with this. I'm going to roll it on around and get this bark edge to the outside, see where we go. Easier it is on that rounded side. Voila. And there he is. And I can just hold it, roll it up, bring it back here, hook it. I just do that just so that it doesn't hang. I want it just enough. So right there's, that's perfect. You've seen it here first. I have never seen this design on any other mill. I'm not saying that somebody else out there hasn't done it. I personally have not seen anyone do it. So if you want to copy this design, by all means go for it. That's what it's here for. It's an Arbor Freight 2,000 pound winch. You can go with a bigger winch. One of these days I might have to, but for right now we're going to see how long that one lasts for the price.
That's just a lawnmower battery. So if a lawnmower battery will do it, eventually I want to upgrade to a deep cycle solar battery so that I can charge it on my solar panel. Uh, that being said, I mean, it rides the carriage, so there's no issues there. The biggest problem that I'm going to have is I'm going to get me some connectors to where I actually keep the battery and the controls over at the controls of the mill. And then I'll just stretch a cable over, plug it in, just like you would plug it in, you know, it's all into a wall socket. Plug it into a little set of cords hanging. They won't be just a foot long, about like this. And I'll plug it in, then be able to work it. It's a little bit of time consumption compared to hydraulics. Hydraulics, everything is set in place. It pops up. It does its thing. You can literally set in one spot and do it all. However, I want to be able to walk down my log because I have non-hydraulic dogs. So I got to be able to dog it down. So I need to be able to walk from one end to the other freely. This will allow me to actually walk freely without having to worry about a big old hydraulic turner and me having to climb over top of it. There's a lot of different ways of doing it. I like this design for an old mill. It keeps the old school stuff still there to a degree, but yet gives you the modern capabilities of everything too. Anybody that's ever turned these big heavy logs knows turning them with a cane hook by yourself is gut busters, as they say. So this should make life a whole lot easier, even if it takes a few seconds to actually do it. I had a manual chain hoist at my other mill. I love that, but I think I'm going to like this even better. I really do. And it's actually pretty fast. I mean, that turns it really quick. So, that being said, I'm going to probably clean up a little bit around here. You've seen it turn for the first time. I haven't touched it up until today. I had the wires hooked up from the other day just to see how long there was, but I hadn't hooked it to no battery. So, you see it, it works. Like I say, if you want to use that design, those roller fair leads are huge on there, but they're made for a large winch. But I had them laying around, so I used them. That pipe, you could use any kind of pipe you wanted. You could use any kind of C-channel or I-beam or whatever. The reason I used the pipe, again, I had it. It's 1/4 inch, schedule 40, I think it is, 4.5 inch pipe. So I think it'll be fine. I may gusset some of those angles a little bit. We'll see how they do and how they hold up. For stuff that size or a little bigger, I think it's going to be perfect. I think it's going to be fine. Like I say, sure beats doing it with a cane hook. So, till next time, if you want to watch more sawmill stuff, we'll try to tag those separately. I've seen some comments of guys that just want to see sawmill stuff. Hey, thanks, man. I really appreciate it. I love the sawmill stuff too. So there's the design. It just comes out, down, and across. Mounts directly to the carriage. The bolts don't even have to be extremely heavy duty in that carriage because if you think about it, you're not really, like the back ones need to be pretty stout, but for the most part, the way that angle is designed, it's sort of like the pressure on a engine hoist. The engine hoist comes down in that sort of angle. It keeps all the pressure pointing down. So all your pressure is actually pointing down on those two mounting points. They're not actually pulling up or twisting or side to side. So the bolts and stuff, I use 3/8 bolts on that. As long as the carriage don't give out, you should be fine. Should never have no trouble. I'm eventually going to upgrade my carriage to a bigger one. That will be going with it, as long as it holds up the winch does wise. And you can always, you don't have to use an electric. That's another key point. The reason I built it like is, you could use a hand winch on it to crank it up. You're just going to have to lean over or be on the back side to actually crank it. I didn't want to be that close to a turning log with nothing other than the cable holding it. So if it was to break and roll, I want to be able to get out of the way. So that's the reason for the cable. I can actually stand back away from it and be out of the way. But you could have somebody there with a cane hook, you know, kind of holding pressure on it as you cranked it up. So there's always that option. It doesn't limit you. There's several different ways. You don't have to worry about hydraulic lines, none of that stuff. If you use manual, you don't have to worry about nothing but manual power. So anyway, I'm going to get my hands warm because it's cold, and I may finish sawing this one up If I do, I may show a little bit of video of that, but I'm going to try to finish installing this one up and get it off the mill so we can get another one on.